I'm neurodivergent, and the way that I literally think about it is my brain is, if you think about a road and it diverges, right? Like it's multiple paths, right? And that's how my brain works. I mean, a million spinning plates at a time, right? A million ideas every single day. My Trello board is overflowing.
Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful day and another wonderful podcast. And you know what? You almost caught me out, all of you, because at that point when the podcast has started and going live, I thought to myself, oh my God, what's her name again? Who am I with? I had to quickly look at the screen and it says Jenna Hatch. And I'm going to put up my hand. You know, clueless Eli. I don't know who I'm actually speaking with. I don't have a clue of their backstory, and that's the reason for that, as you already know. But still, the podcast goes in a way of having a natural conversation, so it's always interesting. Oh, I hope it is anyway. Jenna, thank you for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Eli. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm really glad. So let's start off as we usually do. And the first thing I always say, which is boring to the listeners, is just tell us how you help people in your successful business. And with that, we will go with the flow.
All right. So just a brief introduction. So like Eli said, my name is Jenna Hatch. I am the founder and CEO of Project Outsource. Project Outsource is a offshore virtual assistant company. Okay, so we are offshoring roles to the Philippines. I will say that probably a little over a year ago, I never even really heard of virtual assistants. Yes, I've heard of Upwork and Fiverr, but it wasn't like a regular thing. Fast forward to about 6 months ago, and now virtual assistant companies are pretty much like a dime a dozen. But with that, I always like to think about like how I can be different or set myself apart from the competition. And so I took what's super important to me, and Project Outsource is now a relationship-based virtual assistant company. So what I mean by that is with a lot of these VA agencies, you are they're literally just finding somebody to offload the grunt work onto, right? And that process tends to be really impersonal. You're working with Bob one day, John the next day, Susie the next, because it's like a revolving door. So for me, I truly believe, like, I think back to the leaders that you've had in your life, like the ones that really have impacted you. And typically when we have those types of leaders, we work harder. We want to go above and beyond. It's something like maybe in our subconscious that is maybe searching for approval or something, but or maybe that's just me, but I found that the end result was so much better when you just put a little bit of effort into learning about your VA, about their hobbies, their interests, and having conversations. Once that relationship was built, the outputs have gone through the roof, above and beyond, like 10 out of 10 work. And so that's really what I've focused on, and that's what makes us different. So in a nutshell, offshore virtual assistant company that focuses on building relationships.
Interesting. So let's talk about the situation when you're speaking with the virtual assistant and you want to know a bit more about them regarding their hobbies. How does that make a difference to your customers because of the hobbies and those intricate things within their lives? What makes it different and unique?
That is a fantastic question. So typically when you're looking for a virtual assistant, there are, like I said, plenty of VA companies. Some of them will say, hey, we do custom recruiting, right? Which we do too. Custom recruiting, meaning we have that strategy or discovery call, and we're taking a look at your must-haves in a person and your nice-to-haves in a person, right? Then it's my job and my recruiter's job to go out into the sea of people and find people that check the most amount of boxes for you. So that is the component that I would say is like the custom recruiting, okay? The next level that we have added on to that is I find people that check the most amount of your boxes, but I still want you to interview them, because I don't know if you've experienced this before, Eli, but if there are two visionaries that are trying to build something, nothing gets done. It's visionary, idea, and we're all kind of working on it. You need a visionary and you need an executor. Okay. And so when we get onto that final interview, I'm looking for what I call the magic. Okay. And so what that means is we always start the same. Hey, take it from the top. Tell me about your past work experience and a little bit about yourself and your hobbies. And then, Eli, you told me before you were in one country one day, another country the next day. Well, maybe the person on the other side of the screen is very well traveled, right? Suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, wait, where have you been? And then they talk about a place that you've been, and it was also your favorite place. And now you guys are having a conversation back and forth, and you've connected on something, right? You've literally found that baseline relationship. I try to look for that in people because when you start this journey with your virtual assistant, you already have something in common. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, Jenna, I've been really hesitant on hiring a virtual assistant because I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do, or like, I just don't know how to act with them. But if it's a friend, it feels different, right? It's like you already have this level of comfort in a way.
I get you. No, you totally, basically what you've generated by using that system is you found mutual trust. So you're finding something that they obviously have in common. And in turn, what that does is give mutual trust, not instantly, but far faster than if they didn't have that, if ever. That's what it sounds like to me, because people trust people that have walked something they've walked in before. So as you said before, I like to travel. I love the world. I love people. And if you pair me with someone similar, we've got something to talk about. And then the trust is there, right? Because it's credibility. At the end of the day, you're selling credibility.
That's right.
And I always say, the world doesn't revolve with money. And a lot of people say money and the world go around together, and it doesn't, not at all. It is trust. Because the reason why you'll give me £1 is because you need a little bit of amount of trust. But for you to give me 1,000, that takes a lot of trust. Nobody has a problem giving you £1,000 as long as you have that amount of trust to go with it. So the world revolves around trust, and what you've done is basically thought, okay, how can I be different within my business and get that trust and that connection going as quickly as possible? So then not only my virtual team could be successful, but also the people that expect me to help them in their business be successful. Does that make sense?
I think that's a fantastic analogy, something I have not thought of before, and consider it stolen, adopted, and and I'm going to use that moving forward. Fantastic analogy.
Well, one better. I tend to say this to people. You can take this and push that to yourself when you're selling. It's the currency of trust.
Yep, that just took it to the next level. Yep.
And then people understand straight away what you're talking about, and they go, and it's true. The currency of trust. Forget the money, just deal with the currency of trust, and that's how it goes. Anyway, this is not about Eli. This is about Jenna. All right. So Jenna, that interests me how you're dealing with your business, because most people literally will just see it from a business point of view of their business skills. You've gone a bit further, and you've gone straight down to their personality, and you've actually thought to yourself, it's the virtual's personality, streetwiseness, etc. what matters. And you're totally right. A lot of people don't get this. So that does make you unique. I agree with you. Now that tells me it makes you unique, because for someone to actually take that idea and go forward with that idea, it means you've understood how to deal with people personally, one-to-one, from that point of view. So we're going to go right back to find out what Jenna is all about and how she got to that, those, how can I say, those words of wisdom and the person that you are. All right. So have you any neurodivergent issues at all? And I shouldn't say issues, sorry, listeners. We don't have issues. We just have superpowers, right? So let's start again, Jenna. Have you any superpowers at all?
I sure do. And I was one of those people that I didn't realize what it was until my son was diagnosed ADHD. It's funny, the older I get, the more that I'm in this state of mind, forever. I actually do prefer neurodivergent. To me, in a way, like ADHD almost sounds like a little childish, where that which is almost on your line of superpowers, right? I'm neurodivergent, and the way that I literally think about it is my brain is, if you think about a road and it diverges, right? Like it's multiple paths, right? And that's how my brain works. A million spinning plates at a time, right? A million ideas every single day. My Trello board is overflowing. But yes, and I was diagnosed a little bit later in life, and to give you a better idea of where, what made me, I guess. Growing up, I was basically an only child until the age of 9 when my sister came into the world. But the only child thing, it really made me super independent, needed my brain to be really creative, right? I think it kind of all started then. But I would be teaching classes to my, imaginary or my stuffed animals and teaching them math, teaching them science, like all this stuff, right? And I would just use my imagination a lot. Growing up, I was in a household where I needed to be aware of other people's emotions, right? And so that kind of also set me up for success. I'm going to say for success in the future. But I'm born and raised in New York, and I like to say New York chewed me up and spat me out lovingly. And that was because growing up, I was always viewed as being overly emotional, and people were like, hey, you need to toughen up. You got to get thicker skin. And I always looked at it as my biggest character flaw. And then I joined AmeriCorps, which is like Peace Corps, but only in America. And that took me to Denver. And when I met this, like, just a whole new world out there, right? Different breeds of people. And Denver is a transplant city. So people are coming from all over the US. Meeting this new breed of person literally showed me that what I considered, and many other people considered, to be my biggest character flaw was my greatest superpower. It was the ability to connect with other people, to feel their emotions, to understand where they're coming from. And so I really believe, bringing it full circle here, that my neurodivergence helped in that way.
Okay, so you've now got hindsight, because obviously at the time when you was younger, you didn't know you was neurodivergent. So having that hindsight, where potentially did the underlying situation show that you was neurodivergent? From your parents' point of view, your point of view, anybody's point of view, where did it start? From the crib, for instance? Was you one of those utter nutters in the crib, or did it really start when you started going to school? What happened?
It's actually funny. I watch home videos, and like, I'm in these home videos, I'm running around the house like a nut job. and my parents are like, Jenna, calm down. Hey, Jenna, it's time to leave. And I'm watching this wide-eyed, being like, oh my God, I was showing signs back then, right? But I remember my mom in high school telling me, Jenna, you have very high highs and very low lows. That isn't that, like, those dopamine hits, right? And then when I don't get that dopamine, I'm just like, melting into my couch. So from a childhood perspective, I can look back at these home videos. From my parents' perspective, they've always seen something. But then from my own perspective, having that hindsight, let me tell you, I have always made a joke that I have ADHD of life. And what I mean by that is, I go into a new job or a new career thinking it's going to be my forever career. I quickly climb the ladder because, as someone who's neurodivergent, I understand 15 different ways to accomplish something. And I typically scale real fast and, toot my own horn, reach the top of the class. And when I get to that point, my brain goes, okay, I accomplished it. I did it. What's next?
Mm.
So I have been in the restaurant industry, in the education world. I was a tax assistant. I was a 2-on-1 math tutor. I was a dance teacher majority of my life. I was a director for a big company. I am still a property and casualty insurance agent. I have about 4 website domains purchased that I'm waiting to build. And it's just, I see it so much. It became really clear, this whole ADHD of life, right? It's because I've always been looking for something new to accomplish, to dominate, and those are all very typical signs.
No, I totally get you. I was actually having a conversation with someone, what was it now, about 10 days ago, and how I said to the person, oh, I'm getting that itch. What do you mean? 5 years. Usually it gets to 5 years. And then I've done that. I can do it. It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to do A, B, and C. And I found that quite strange, because most people, they stay in one style of job, not in one job, but one style of job, right? And me, I'm like, okay, had enough, got to move on. And I don't particularly think I've ever had a discussion until now with yourself and found someone that's similar to me, because people think I'm crazy. What do you mean? Every 5 years? And I said, yeah, I've noticed this pattern. And I haven't done it on purpose, but when I look back on my life, I haven't done anything for longer than that. And I have to move on. I have to do something different. Otherwise, it does my head in.
I will also encourage you to think about the fact that you love to travel. I'm not going to lie to you. You can ask my husband. I'm very happily married, love our lives, but I have been in my home now for 6 years. I'm ready to move. I love to move around and experience different cultures, places, people, what they have to offer. Yeah. I love that. And, in a way, I hate that we bought a house. In a way, I hate it. Like, I want to move. I want to go other places. Yeah. And so I feel you on that 5-year itch.
I tell you what, that resonates with me too, because it's a situation that my partner, she wants to buy houses, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that, because, and also when I travel too, I've never quite understood how people could just live around the pool. And not only that, because I want to see how people live, right? How proper the locals live,
Yes.
So when I do go to different places, I have to go down the side roads. I have to sit with the locals. I've got to know how people talk, live, and socialize with each other. That's what it's about for me. But anyway, that's another discussion. The reason why I'm speaking about it, Jenna, because you totally understand where I'm coming from, and that's I know a lot of people find that very strange. But yeah, I'm the kind of person, I could go from country to country or from location to location every so many years. Probably the 5-year itch. Who knows?
You're in good company. You're in good company here.
I'm telling you. Right. Okay. So when we were talking about when you was younger, so it's a situation that you have these highs, you have these lows. You see you on video. You're very twitchy hoochie, all over the place. Parents obviously think you're a nutter. They're probably right. Yeah. But for good reason, because you've then found out how you resonate with people in a way that you empathize with people. You understand why they feel what they feel, or get to why they may be going in the direction they have. You have those deep discussions and etc. And I suppose the reason why you're able to do that is that due to you didn't have the typical tools that most people would have, and you'd have to learn from doing things a different way, such as reading people in a completely different way, because you had no choice? Or how do you feel you was able to get that so-called superpower with ADHD?
Well, I truthfully grew up with a risky parent, right? We'll keep it lighthearted here, but I grew up with a risky parent where I needed to be aware of the emotions that were happening at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm just very intuitive in that way, where based off of people's body language. I mean, even your, excuse me, even like your facial movements, right? You furrow your brow, your, you're thinking, you could see
What,
your
like,
eyes.
like what I'm doing right now? What does that mean?
But you're in concentration. That's different.
Okay.
It's like I've always just kind of I had to know what we were dealing with. And the second thought process after that was I had to know what my actions were going to be at that time to try to diffuse the situation or distract. And this is not to be a sob story, but it's rather to be like I have like 1,000,001 sayings, right? And some, like, I guess things that are just very near and dear to my heart. And one of those sayings are the things in life that, happen to you. Do they happen to you or do they happen for you? Right. But you have a choice. You can either grow from it or you can let it consume you. And so I like to say that I grew from those experiences. Whereas my childhood might not have been rainbows and unicorns, a lot of us, I feel like, have had a very similar experience, as we can see on social media these days. I love when people say, like, at what point do I actually get a unique experience? Like, it's crazy how many people around the world have literally experienced the same thing, just in different capacities, right? And so I feel like there's an easy level of connection, human to human, because a lot of people in the world have also had similar experiences. And so when you meet people who have gone through it, or a different version maybe, and they can relate to it, I'm automatically relating right off the bat with that person. And it's almost like I've known this person forever. Right. So I feel like it's kind of developed over time, just living in different places, meeting different walks of life. But it's really overall helped me in business as well, because I was able to apply a lot of the emotional intelligence, I guess you would say, that I've developed over these years. And then, kind of switching my mindset into how do we make this work for business as well.
Okay, so you were living in a risky state with your upbringing, so there was a few things going on there. So I get it. You don't want to really go into that. I get that. But because you were also hypersensitive to things around you, you were able to train while going through that situation. And while those years had passed and so many things had happened, you had come out, joined the Corps with that training, because it's equivalent of going, I call it life university. So you went through life university. You didn't have to go through university to get those skills, but you went through life university coupled with ADHD. And then you were able to use that superpower of ADHD with your life university and be empathetic, learn how to read people from a personal point of view, and then understand you could use it from a business point of view while going through still those daily hardships, because they don't stop from when you're a child or a teen. You're still navigating life with those tools that you've gathered. But while life is still hitting you up, down, left, and right, you're still using those same tools and harnessing those tools to get you to a point where you know how to fly through your jobs left, right, and center, to climb that ladder so fast, because you've seen it all and done that. But you can still apply that to any job, because it's just a pretty framework, isn't it? It's a framework you use.
It's life skills. Right.
Exactly.
Just like you said.
It's
life
as simple
skills.
as that. Does that sound right?
I actually wanted to ask, are you sure you're neurodivergent? Because you followed along very well and you tied in previous themes. And I'm like, dang, he's worked on his neurodivergence for a long time now.
I have.
Yes.
I have. Well,
you nailed that. Crushed it.
Well, the thing is that my neurodivergence, from a point of view, I have a memory like a fish. I always have done since I was a child. And also I had problems with speech. So I had to work very hard. Luckily, I had a mother that says you must, cross your T's and dot your I's and say "t" at the end of certain things.
Yeah.
And so if it wasn't down to my mother, and I hated her at the time, oh, Mum, why? And also the memory situation, well, I had no other choice. I couldn't take a list or study very well and have a list of things I can use so I can have a conversation or take it into a job. I had to then learn, just like you, in a certain environment where I had to try and fake it in a way, because I didn't want people to know that I couldn't understand and keep those memory trait things I had to study. So I had to have a conversation. I had to be able to have a conversation, drill out the information I needed, and then take it from there. And this is where my strong point is. I look at body language, and then I ask the right questions at the right time. And that's my superpower, because I've had to go through the university of life, had my bitch arse licks, and then I can have these conversations where people think, damn, how do you know that about me? Well, you understand, Jenna, how, because you have that skill set, because you had to go through that process. And I've done exactly the same thing. Hence, listeners, when I come on the podcast, I really do not have a clue who they are, what they do, or what they have done. I literally just have a conversation. I'm good at it because I've had to learn. I've had to be good at it because I have a memory like a fish. Trust me. I'll probably say to Jenna, what's your name again, Jenna?
But I also think, to that point, Eli, I think what you're doing here is fantastic. I think it shows, I like that you don't do your research ahead of time. It gives your entire podcast and your audience that true authenticity that people are looking for these days, which I would bet that your listeners, your audience really love you. Because you bring that level of authenticity, and neurodivergent people, I don't think we really have any other choice, actually. I think in my head, if I do anything unauthentic, I'm immediately mad at myself. Like my brain is going, I don't think I have the ability to be fake.
Yeah, and also I don't want to be. I like to be straightforward, so I say it as it is. And I think life should be, you've got to say it nicely. Sometimes I'm too straight, I've been told. But hey, that's how you weed out the people that aren't right for you. Weed out the people that are right for you by being authentic. For instance, if you're looking for a partner and you want that partner, to have beautiful locks and, and all these other traits, and then you try to change yourself to gain that partner. Okay, you may gain that partner by acting as somebody else, but after a while, you've got to relax in the relationship. But if that partner then sees you as a completely different person, well, then they're going to walk away. You're going to be, wasting your time, and you're going to be maybe in an abusive relationship. And that's because you didn't start out being authentic. You're better off filtering. Oh, here's my daughter. Hello, daughter. I didn't close the door. Here's my daughter. Yes, baby. So, do you see what I mean? All in real time.
Absolutely. So, I love it.
This is it. Hello. Say hello.
Hi.
Hello.
She's 2 years old.
Oh, she's
Hold
beautiful.
on a second. Baby. Go to mum. Go to mum. Go back to mum. Go to mum. Yeah, and this won't be edited out the podcast, by the way. It is what it is. This is life.
I love it. I had to close my door because more than half the time my Labradoodle walks in. And I feel like 2020 taught us all how to be a little bit, I'm missing the word right now, but we go with the flow. We go with the flow now since 2020. And I think it's really important that people understand that we are all real people with real lives, with kids and pets and all the things, right? This is real.
Totally. It is real. So hold on a second, baby. Could you take, here's the podcast right now. Go and take baby. Take baby for me and just lock the door. You can. All right. It's all right. Okay.
We'll miss you too.
Right. So she's not going to be pleased with daddy, that's for sure. So yeah, so as I say about being authentic, so this is the thing is was adamant that this podcast was going to help as many people as possible be in diversion. And the reason being, I spent too many years denying who I was with the skills I had. And only a year and a half ago did I set out to admit to who I am, admit to it is okay to look the way you look, because I didn't like showing my face. I didn't like my voice. I didn't like all these things. So I had to face myself. And I thought I didn't want nobody else to look at themselves in a negative way because they're different, right? And I said, Eli, you took way too long. Hence the podcast. And hence why we're on here today, to be authentic and to show people is that you will have your ups and downs, and it's okay to go through chaos, because the people I have on the podcast who are successful had to go through chaos to be great leaders. You cannot be a great leader or be great at something by giving a silver spoon in your mouth and nothing happening. And it doesn't stop there. Even though they're successful now, even though I'm successful now, we still have our ups and downs. That is the process of life. And it is only then can we always be greater than we were yesterday. And this is why I've created this podcast. So if you are neurodivergent, regardless of what that may be, you are able to be successful. It is part of the process, listeners, that you're going through. Resilience is the key and consistency is the key. Anyway, Jenna, I got to stop preaching.
No, I'm here for it. I'm really here for it. It's like this is starting off. Again, I'm in Austin, Texas. This is starting off my morning, giving me a dopamine shot, being like, all right, I'm ready to start my Friday. So Eli, if you want to keep talking, I'll keep listening.
Hallelujah. Well, okay. Well, listen. So you use this superpower of yours, this beautiful skill that you had to collect, and you're helping so many people, not only from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. And I bet you all your friends rally around you and say, "Oh, Jenna, what should I do? What should I do?" I bet your week starts off like that.
It's really funny. So even in high school, friends with everyone, right? Friends with everyone because I can be. It's just one of those things where I can mold to what you want me to be, right? I'm not like super proud of that, but it's the reality of it. But truthfully, I want to be very honest here. It's almost hard for me to it's not like hold friends, because I've got friends from high school, I've got friends from college, but I don't have a very big group. I have a ton of like acquaintances and business relationships and business friends, right? But truthfully, I prefer like the company of my husband, because to your exact point before, he is the person that has seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I am my most authentic self around him, where a lot of times, bringing it back to the beginning, growing up with a risky parent and needing to be that version of myself in the moment, I do that a lot. Like that's actually something I need to work on. And taking a side tangent, as the best neurodivergent people do, I was on Instagram kind of aimlessly scrolling, and I saw this video about this woman who had said her most eye-opening years or life-changing years were between 35 to 37. Have more people felt this way. And I immediately had to like run to the comments, because I have told people time and time and time again. Now I'm going to be turning 37 here soon. I have told people time and time again, it was at 35 years old where I almost had like my second aha moment of life, and said, I need to start setting boundaries. I need to start being truer to myself. And it was just like a switch, right? It just clicked. And so bringing it back now, it's, as far as like relationships go and my friends, I set really hard line in the sand boundaries.
That's
And
right.
so I don't let a whole lot of people in. But with that being said, my entire life building this skill set, having these experiences, my absolute favorite thing to do is meet up with my friends
Yeah.
and workshop their businesses and workshop ideas and help these people grow their business. And, relating it back to what I do now, I've been in so many different industries. I don't know if you know kind of what happened in the US in 2022 in the tech industry. Basically, all these tech companies hired a whole bunch of people because they got all this funding, and then they
Yeah.
fired a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
I was part of those layoffs, and it was probably the best thing that happened to me because as I've just been constantly going in life, I was able to get a severance and I was able to pause and excuse me, and stop and think about like, what is it that I really want to do with my life? And I just kind of did like, pros and cons lists. And overall, it came out to be that I want to be a business advisor. But I think that business advisors in a way are a dime a dozen these days, right? And everybody thinks they have the magic sauce. So me always thinking about how can I be different? I didn't want to go the standard business advisor route. But what I do now is I'm a business advisor for, your solopreneurs, your serial entrepreneurs, whatever it is. And now I have the manpower to execute the plan that we put into motion. And so that for me was like, it's not just all about talking about it, right? Like we need actionable items. And talk, like I said before, two visionaries, we're going to bounce ideas back and forth. Ultimately, someone's got to execute. Someone's got to do the thing. So, it's just kind of like, again, I see it, hindsight, clear as day now, like why all these things happened and what brought me to this point. But I'm honestly super proud of where I've come. And to answer your question, because I know I've tangented a couple of times, as my brain typically does. I love hanging out with my friends, and this type of workshopping happens almost every single time. And that's what I really connect with people on, because I ultimately want to see them succeed and them prosper as well. And yeah, I mean, I love going to these networking events, and everybody knows Jenna because I just, flit around the room and just friends with everyone. But,
I like that.
But as far as like the rule of reciprocity and reciprocating that, I've had to be very stingy and very, dialed in to who I'm going to network with, because I will get burned out very easily. I throw all of my energy into something. And the reality of it is not everyone is your cup of tea or worth your time, energy, and effort.
Totally right. So what was the straw that broke the camel's back when you thought, Jenna, you're going to be more authentic? What was happening at the time to make you think like that and switch?
Corporate America. So, and I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. So I think I told you before, I'm still a licensed property and casualty insurance agent in Texas. I was working for a really big corporation. They're the largest broker in the US. And, I was one of the top producers for the Austin office. I never missed a quota in almost 3 years, and I took a lot of pride in that. But being super vulnerable here, I was basically Adderalled out. I was just taking 30 milligrams in the morning and 30 milligrams in the afternoon. Yes, that was prescribed to me because the level of work that I was doing. I was also on depression medication. I was so burnt out, just burning the candle at both ends. And in January of 2022, so again, right, I'm basically 35, or 34 going on 35, I guess. But I had a conversation with my manager and their manager, and I just said, listen, I can't keep functioning at this wavelength. It's going to kill me. And I understood being there, and having more of a tenure, that I needed to set an example for the younger agents. And so, again, I've been in leadership roles majority of my life. And so when I went to them, I just said exactly what I said before. I can't keep functioning at this wavelength. And I just said to them, you don't have to lower my quota. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying, please keep it consistent for a little bit so that I can hit that quota in my mind, because that's really what I wanted. I wanted to hit my quota every single month. Let me hit it. It's a commission-based role. So I'm not going to just stop. I'm going to keep going. Like, we all love money, right?
Yeah.
So I'll keep going. But unfortunately, I had that conversation of January of 22. February, they increased it another $2,000. And then March, they increased it another $3,000. And that is when I quit. That was kind of like the turning moment of me being like, okay, I can't, like, other people are dictating my life. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I have so much more going on besides this job. And in corporate America, unfortunately, it's like when they see someone who does really great work, right? You work harder and then you take over somebody else's job, and now you're working 3 people's jobs. And also we want you to be in this leadership role. And also we want, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't keep doing this. So it was, I'm off depression medication. I am, my Adderall medication is regulated and it's great now. And I'm happy majority of the time. I really don't have those high highs and low lows as much. But that was the turning point. It was I need to, like, they're going to kill me. And by they're going to kill me, let's be real, it's me at the end of the day. I have the power to say yes or no. And so, that was the turning point right there.
Well done to you, because you not only had to make that decision for yourself, but for your child also, and your family life and your husband. And that couldn't have been nice for both of them, seeing what was happening to mum. And I suppose you had those conversations, in the dead of night with the husband. So something had to snap, and it wasn't going to be your family, and you made that decision. And it couldn't have been easy for your ADHD too, because you was always an achiever, always a person that just wanted to keep on going. So that was really difficult for you, when naturally you was a person that did always want to go forward. How did that affect your ADHD from that point of view?
I just think it was really disheartening, because what's really funny is nobody likes insurance, but if you ask me, I love it. I don't know who in their right mind loves insurance, but my mind's not also fully right? I tell people I'm a true, like, right brain, left brain person. My degree is in earth science. My minor is in dance. I was a dance teacher majority of my life, until I moved to Texas 8 years ago. But I'm a true right brain, left brain person. I love numbers. I love making things fit together. And then I guess I love doing that in creative ways as well. And so there's a reason I actually got relicensed in insurance this year. And so there's a reason, I guess, to answer your question, it was really disheartening. I was very upset. I was making really great money. I wanted to open up my own agency, and I was breadwinner of my family at that time. And to give all that up because I decided to set the boundary, it was really tough, and it made me very upset. And honestly, Eli, I just told you about the tech thing, right? So it was in March of 2022 that I left the insurance and I started in the tech industry, and 8 months later, my number was up and I got let go. So on top of all of that, right? 3 years of being top producer. I was one of the youngest tenures to hit, and I know we don't know what this means, but I was a youngest tenure in the Austin office to hit 20,000 in revenue in a month, which is super hard to do in Austin. But I was so proud, and I loved my life at that point, which is, kind of like
that because you were achieving.
Right? I was achieving. Yes, I was achieving, but like at the expense of what? right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so I think it was a getting let go from the tech industry 8 months later was like, oh wow, Jenna, like you really messed up by leaving, right? But like I had said before, that really gave me the time to stop and think about what I wanted to do. And there's a book, and I wish I remembered the name of the author right now because I feel terrible, but it's called You Are a Badass. And in the first couple of chapters, she talks about the ego, not your ego, but like, you know, almost like that comfort zone.
Mhm.
And she says that if you've ever watched, like, I don't know, Eli, are you like a Marvel or DC fan, like superheroes at all?
I am. Yeah, I do love my superheroes. Yeah,
Me too.
I'm a Iron Man, and Thor is my big thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. We're very into like superheroes and everything, me included. And she makes a reference to, you know how like when they're trying to get into a new universe, or, you know, the
Yes.
multiverse, let's say.
Yeah.
And so if you're about to cross through that invisible shield, it gets like really crackly. And, you know, it's like, it's super hard to open up that force field. And then like you jump through it and you're on the other side and it, you know, slams shut behind you. She basically says that the ego, your comfort zone, anytime you're trying to leave your comfort zone, life throws everything at you. And it's like, basically get back in your comfort zone, take another step back. But if you imagine that crinkled force field opening up, right? That is you continuously pushing forward. And then when you jump through it, you're able to look back and be like, oh my gosh, that was a close one, right? I kind of had that in my mind the entire time as I'm going through this with the insurance company and then going to the tech industry and being let go 8 months later. And I just felt like life was throwing everything at me as my brain is now shifting and changing and boundaries. And, you know, I'm tired of moving heaven and earth for other people. I want to move heaven and earth for me. And I do feel I'm on the other side of that force field now, looking back, being like, yeah, that sucked. That was bad. It was, you know, life threw everything at me to try to get me to stay in my comfort zone. But I pushed through, you know, and that is a fantastic feeling. And that to me feels like growth, and, you know, and learning how to control my emotions. And, you know, I'm in control. My brain and I are in control of this destiny. Right. So yeah, it was really upsetting, but now in hindsight, it needed to happen.
And with that, after you did all of that and you went through the pain points, and listeners, and this is what I was saying, you know, there's the ups and downs going through life. And what I want to know, Jenna, after that, you wanted to put this agency together. And it was a point of view that you wanted to put it together to help people from a genuine point of view. And that genuine point of view is to make sure you match people correctly, not just from a surface where, okay, they're looking for someone to do some copywriting. No, you want to go beyond that. You went below. And obviously, the reason why you went so deep is because you had this skill set. You had, obviously, we've looked at your journey, how you've come across a skill set, being able to connect with people and connect with people very fast. And you wanted to carry that through into your business. So you would have a genuine connection, a bit of you being able to be multiplied within your business. Obviously, you've got people working for you, and you've had to teach people the skills that you've had, be them from a point of view, you had to do it pretty quickly, but you've done it. And now you've set this new business. And how are things going? What's your feedback when your edge is doing things in a unique way, which is what we've just discussed?
So the feedback, funny enough, there's something, God, what was the show? They were writing a book and they were like, I want you to read it and give me your notes. And they were like, oh, I think it was New Girl. Yeah, I love New Girl. And all the friends said, no notes. We have no notes. Like, the book is perfect. Go for it. Right. And it was a joke. But Feedback that I've received from this has been really, really great, but along the lines of like no notes, quote unquote. What I mean by that is I really have worked hard to develop my strategy / discovery call to uncover what people are looking for, to uncover how they tick, so that when I'm doing interviews with offshore virtual assistants, I'm able to, again, put the people that I think would mesh the best in front of my potential client, right? That coupled with the extremely detailed onboarding, and then me and my team are heavily involved in the first month. I mean, I am there as a resource. They have their virtual assistant that is doing the work. My personal assistant, Carmela, I mean, if I could give her a score of 12 out of 10, I would. The team that we have going on, it almost produces this no notes effect, because anytime we see, and Carmela and I have opposing skill sets for the record, I will see something one way and she will see it another way, or she will give me the next step up way of thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that didn't even cross my mind. Great job. Right. And so this synergy that we have allows us to go into people's businesses. And for example, we've had clients before that the communication is not there. We hire someone because they are so busy that they need help, but then they don't realize, like, you also need to delegate items or tasks to your VA. And so the VA has spoken to Carmela. Carmela has come to me. Hey, they're not communicating. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this type of relationship go south because of poor communication. So because we have developed this culture in Project Outsource, where, I mean, we have an entire text channel where if anybody is having any issues with any of their clients, I have this Excel spreadsheet that I need to combine, I don't know how to do it. Everyone is jumping in and helping. Oh, have you tried this? Try this AI tool, try that, everyone is there to help. So everyone feels comfortable talking to each other. And it literally allows me the ability to then reach out to the client, because I hear people say all the time, oh, virtual assistants, they don't understand, they can't communicate well. You really have to spell it out for them. And it hurts my heart to hear things like that. And I have literally flipped the script on people before, saying, let me ask you how your first job went as a teenager. I'm absolutely positive that you just jumped right in there and were crushing it on day one and never made a mistake, right? No, we all need help. We all need clarification on certain things. We all know that we all view things differently. People are colorblind. Everyone has different views of things, whether it be culturally, because how someone, was born and raised. I mean, I don't know, fill in the blank, but it hurts my heart when people say that, because I just say, maybe it's you. And that is where my business is not client-centric or employee-centric, but rather human-centric, because I guess in a way, I'm like the mediator, right? I'm going to talk to the client. Hey, what's going on? Oh, this didn't get done the way I wanted to. Okay, great. I'll be right back. And then I go to the VA. What happened? I just got this, piece of paper and I tried to follow up with them, but then they didn't get back to me. There it is. You followed up. Hey, and my whole thing is, I want to take you at your word, but I tell everyone, document. And so I'm like, do you have any documentation proving this? It just makes my conversation a lot easier, right?
Yeah, of course.
And of course we would come at this from a kind, this is a kind conversation, but it's like, hey, Eli, so I went back and I checked in with Carmela. We'll say, my girl's your girl. I went in and checked in with Carmela. She said that she reached out to you before. I did see the email go through. Maybe you didn't see it go through, which is, technology, am I right? Would you mind taking a look? But I think maybe the reason why this happened is because she was looking for clarification and we didn't get there. And it's just, situation diffused, right? I'm not always right. I'm forgetful. I don't think I know everything. And sometimes I need to be corrected too. Why are we saying that it's like, oh, they don't understand? why are you generalizing people like that? It's sometimes it's just communication that needs to happen. And
Jenna, and you know what I will say, Jenna, you're a great leader. And I knew this from we started this talking about when everybody jumped in with the Excel and everybody jumps in and tries to help. That straight away told me you was a great leader. Why? Because for the bare fact, you've got an ecosystem where everybody feels like they feel comfortable enough to say something where they can see it from their point of view, they may be able to help. That means they're comfortable enough to know that they can be a part of the culture to help in any which way they can, and they're willing to do so without being asked. And for that to happen, you have to have an environment where people feel comfortable enough where they can all willingly work together without being asked. And for that to happen, you need a great leader to be able to make that happen. Does that make sense?
I mean, my heart is only exploding at this point. Like, thank you so much for those words. Like it's my goal. And here's another line for you. I always say I'm never trying to reinvent the wheel, but I do believe there's a bigger and better way to do things. And I went to school for earth science education. And truthfully, that is the whole reason why I dropped the education major. Was I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I didn't agree with their systems, with the way they were going about things. It should, if you're, in my eyes, if you're an educator, you are meant to educate the world. You are there to, be a member of society that is going to help develop and grow people. And I just, it was halfway through my junior year when I decided to drop the education major. But it taught me, listen, everything happens for a reason. It taught me a lot of skill sets on how to educate others, on how to, use the different modes and methods. I thank my lucky stars, I have that training, but I've always wanted to be in leadership. I do believe that there's a better way to do things. And so thank you so much for recognizing that in me. It really, that's what I strive for. So I appreciate you.
You definitely achieved that. Remember, we had the conversation before we came on the podcast when you called me sir, and I was offended. I said, don't call me sir, please. And just basically to tie up with what you're saying, I do not believe as a leader you should bring in some hierarchy. Yes, you've got to take the fall for, take the last buck, but you've got to make people feel you're a team, and feel that you're on a similar level. All right. So if people feel comfortable to have that conversation and say, hold on, Eli, no, I think that's wrong. And that's because of A, B, and C. That's a good thing for someone to stop me, because I'm not always right. I'm not right every single time. I want someone to feel comfortable enough to say, oh, you're seeing it from the wrong direction. What do you mean? You've got to see it from A, B, and C. I'm an advocate for having people feel like we're in a team and not being dictated to. Yeah, the buck does stop with me, but let's have a conversation. Oh, you know what? Just hit me. I'm having another conversation again with my team on. Let's have a conversation. It's not about, hierarchy. It's not about specifics. Just let's have a conversation to get to the goal we're trying to get. So I'm doing the same thing with the conversation thing. So such as I do the conversation with the podcast, I just have a conversation with my team.
Yes.
My God. Jenna, I'm glad we had this podcast. I've learned something about myself.
You are awesome. You are way more awesome than you even think.
Well, I try to, all I want is people to be happy, whoever that may be. And if I can make people achieve their goals, and that does not mean richness, it could be their goal with their partner, goal in their life, or whatever the case is, that makes me happy. That's what I was put on this earth to be here for. So if I can do that with just one person every single podcast and reach out as many people as possible, That is why I was put on this earth. But this is not a podcast about Eli. It's about Jenna. So stop diverting. That's your fault. You're diverting me.
I'll take that one. I'll take it.
Okay.
But I will say you triggered something in my brain. I was on another podcast. I'm in a bunch of like networking groups, right? And on this particular podcast, it basically said like, bring something to the table that you're looking to work on your business. And I was ripped apart on that podcast. And the reason why I was ripped apart was because, I think there was 4 participants in addition to me. And they said, Jenna, you know that you're marketing to the brokest people in the world, right? Entrepreneurs. You are marketing to the brokest people. Like, that is not a good strategy. And I just smiled and said, yeah, I know. Because it's ultimately, the money is great. Like, yay, love it. But ultimately, it's a passion for me. It's what gets me out of bed. It's what makes me happy. And so I just, sat there through the rest of it, just being torn apart about why I was making the wrong life choices. And it honestly played right back into like, let's bring this whole thing first full circle. Mm-hmm. It played right back into, Jenna, you got to toughen up. You got to get thicker skin. You got to. And that's what I hear from other people. But what I know is, no, I don't have to get thicker skin. I don't have to toughen up. It's my greatest superpower. And when people say, Jenna, you're marketing to the brokest people in the world, don't do that. I now say, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because this is what makes me happy. And this is what I'm really good at.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, how many entrepreneurs are out there? 10 million. Remember, you're dealing with the Americans, the British, the Australians, the so on and so. So how many businesses can you look after? All right, maybe 10 if you're lucky every single week, maybe 20, maybe 30. Really? You're telling me at any one time there isn't 10, 20, 30, 40 entrepreneurs every single week you can't do business with?
And I also want to put it in another perspective. Small victories add to large victories. Okay.
Of course.
Now, if I have all these little baby wins, do you think I'm going to feel it if 3 to 5 of them drop off?
That's right. Correct.
It's not this $2 million contract that now I don't know how I'm going to support my family moving forward. Small victories add to large victories. It's about perspective.
You're totally right. And at the end of the day, once you're with these clients that are starting off and they're successful, they stay with you. So as they build and they become stronger beings in their business, they build with you. So you have 2 things going on there. You feel great because you see how they started out and you see how they're achieving that growth. And at the end of the day, you feel good about yourself because that's ideally what you want to do. So you've got the right business for you, just like you've got the right clientele that will come to you correctly because you shine in a particular way that you shine. Thank
you. That is the goal. That is the entire goal, is to attract those like-minded people that, I don't want to get too far off, but I did have somebody at one point where I was doing the discovery call and they said, Jenna, please excuse me, but don't we pay you to sift through the bullshit? And I was super taken aback. And I said, you know what? You're right. You do. But also, I don't think you're going to be a good fit for me. And I just, for the record, Eli, I just officially launched my business in April of 2024. Okay. It's only been a couple of months and I'm in no position to turn away business. Mm-hmm. But that didn't matter to me either. It's about, again, I am trying to create something. There's a bigger and better way to do things. And so when that was thrown at me and I was like, whoa, I straight up said, you do pay me to do that. Yes. And I do. I find those people that check the most amount of boxes. But there's a third layer to this, which is building the relationship, which is why we do that last interview to figure out who's going to mesh well with you. Never heard from them again.
And you did the right thing because not only have you got get the right VA, but you have to have the right clientele. You know, in corporate America, what happens when you get paid to take on somebody, and because you get paid to take on that person who's an ass, let's say for a better word, you know, number wise, it's actually cost the company more because they're an ass and what
That's
they
right.
put you through over and over again. Now you starting off your business, you've been there and done that. You don't need to be making $1 to actually you lose $2, because the amount of time and hassle and potential reputation loss that it can do. So you're filtering from the point of view of your virtual assistants, and you're getting yourself the right clientele. And with those two business models happening at the same time, it means you know what you're doing, you're forging forward, and you're going to have a beautiful business.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish we can go further on. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes because I want to know just a little bit more about your business regarding the virtual assistant. So when it comes to helping companies, do you help small? I know you say you're entrepreneurs. Are you willing to help the bigger companies? Or how does it, you just tell us your structure as a business of the kind of people that you help.
Sure. So they say that the riches are in the niches. And I will tell you, because I have been in so many different industries and have, you know, industry experience in a lot of them, it's been very hard for me to try to niche down. But overall, this is kind of where we're at. I guess you'd say like the target industry where you know we perform very, very well in is actually like medical services, right? So we have medical billers that will, you know, help you do all the coding, billing insurance, handle claims, client documentation, things like that, right? That is ultimately how I see me growing my business quickest. Okay, let's remember that other story. That is how I see me growing my business the fastest. What am I passionate about? On the website, we have a section under services. It's a bit of a comedic relief. It's called the VAA program, which stands for Virtual Assistants Anonymous. It is meant to be for those who have had a terrible experience with virtual assistants. It is a 90-day program where we take your negative experience and turn it into a positive one. And that can be for all walks of life, okay? Meaning that could be your one-off virtual assistant that you want to be your right-hand man or woman. That could be for the call center type deal, because what I've seen is, you know, we had people, I've literally had conversations with someone saying, oh, I hired somebody off of, you know, either Upwork or Fiverr or one of those for $4 or $5 an hour. I gave them the script to answer the phone. The second somebody asked a question that was not on that script, it was almost like people were memorizing the answers to those particular questions in English, but they weren't able to do anything off script.
Yeah.
You know, to which I've been like, hey, I can help you with that. Trust me. I know exactly what you're looking for. Born and raised in New York, but they chewed me up and spat me out. But I promise you what I took from it was hustle, grind, and customer service. Like, I've got you, I promise. And I followed through on that, right? And so I know I've tangented again, but I just feel like understanding people's businesses, understanding the world, like I know how to make these things kind of fit together for different clients. So medical services is the one that I guess is most easy to grow, which sounds silly because it's like a rinse and repeat kind of process. But my passion is in that VAA program. That is really where I want to dive in with business owners, with entrepreneurs, like learn how you tick. Tell me about your pain points, your short-term, long-term goals, your current tech stack. We look at it all. Like even your technology that you're working with, your CRMs, your communication platforms, are they all serving you well? Because there are a million CRMs out there. There are a million, right? And so it's like figuring out what's best for them. That is my favorite thing to do, and my favorite thing that we offer.
That's good, and I'm exactly the same way. The reason why you like to look at things from a 360-degree point of view because you like the challenge and because you see things as a puzzle and because when you look at it 10 minutes later, you've worked it out. Because that's how your ADHD brain and that's how my brain works.
That's
so
right.
I get you.
And that's
far
why
more
I said
exciting.
it's the business advisor. I get to be the business advisor that I wanted to
Exactly.
be, but then I get to find the people to do the things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's far more achieving too, because you look at people and their faces at the time and they go, oh my God, you actually get me. No one could actually figure it out, and it's nice to be in that position. Jenna, how can people connect with you? How can they contact you if they need to get through?
So I am on LinkedIn under Jenna Hatch. You can always go to our website, which is projectoutsource.co. There's a bright red button on there that says book now. So you can book on my calendar. And coming up, which by the time you listen to this podcast, it'll probably be on the website already. There will be freebies on there about, how to hire the right virtual assistant, because I'm here to help if people want the help, but I also know that everybody's situation is different. And so ultimately, like you had said before, what I want is for people to be happy. What I want is for people to prosper. And if it's not in the cards for you to work with me, doesn't mean that you can't give a really great opportunity to somebody offshore. So there's going to be a bunch of freebies on the website. So go ahead and check those out. It'll help you when, like I said, hiring, screening your candidates, training, onboarding, how to kind of work through all of it.
And as you can see, Jenna is the lady for you. You've seen how she's got to this stage, how she's intuitive, how she can literally sit, listen, and work the things that need to be worked out with no bullshit, should I say, for a better word. And you can see how she's authentic. She's already gone through the stages of, I've got to be authentic. I've got to be who I am. And that's the kind of person that you want to actually have a conversation before you even work with, right? You want someone to be authentic. You want someone that you can have a good relationship with and someone that you can trust. And she's gained that trust because she's had the life of university and done it well. So if she's resonating with you, all you got to do is copy and paste down below, go over to the website, make that call, and you never know what will happen. But as you can see, here's one authentic person that may be able to help you just this one time. Jenna, thank you. It's been wonderful. I'm really glad you gave up your precious time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Eli. Honestly, it was, like I said, exactly the shot of dopamine that I needed today. And I think you're wonderful. And I'm definitely going to be telling all of my friends, family, acquaintances to be listening to your podcast.
Well, I'm here to help as quickly as and efficiently as possible. So, anything I can do to help. If you know anybody who wants to reach out, have that conversation. I'm here just to help anybody's life a little bit easier. But in the meantime, listeners, thank you for being with us and sayonara.